Back live with you tonight, John in Focus, Newzroom Afrika, Channel 405. Thanks for staying on. Your reporting continues now. Last week, Friday, we heard from the Justice, Crime Prevention and Security Cluster that they have arrested 19 people for incitement to commit public violence during the unrest in July. Of these, 8 people were arrested by the Hawks and 11 were arrested by the Special Task Team. It's been, of course, coming from a huge number of others who were arrested during that week. Close to 5,000 people, 8,000 incidents that were reported. Why has there been very few arrests? Dr. Chris de Kock, former head of the Crime Information Analysis Center of the South African Police Service, joining us to help us in that conversation. Dr. Chris, good evening, and thank you very much for your time and for joining us tonight up here on In Focus. Generally, I mean, if you look at the crime of incitement, I beg your pardon, to commit public violence during an unrest, is it a very easy crime to get a conviction out of it?
No, I don't think it's an easy conviction to get a crime, to get convictions. It is difficult, but the thing is, the question is still, why were these people arrested? And up to now, we haven't seen any results, actually. And I think there's either the full truth is not being told to us, for example, on Friday, last Friday, or it is a case that some of these, there is not enough evidence to really proceed and get a successful conviction. You see, it's a very serious, I mean, this unrest, or even some call it insurrection last year, was a very serious issue. I mean, it destroyed a big part of our economy, in especially KZN and parts of Gauteng. It killed more than 300 people, nearly between 300 and 400 people. So if anybody started this fire, those people have to be convicted. Now, must either be a case of there's not enough evidence, otherwise it's a year later. Why didn't they proceed and get some success? And then also, the other fact is maybe these people are very politically connected, that they are very high up in the political structures of the ruling party, and that it is very difficult for them now to proceed or to see that the thing is proceeding, because it may cause damage to the ruling party.
Yeah. Much of the information around the incitement of this crime was done on social media. So you have, for example, guys who were arrested because of what they posted on their social medias. There were videos, there were tweets, there were things like that that were put out there, others circulated on WhatsApp media. And I remember at the time the police saying, no, these are the people. Some of them were caught their voices were there, and they arrested these people. But most of these people have been let go. Do you think that using social media as the basis for the arrest could have been the reason why the cases were structured so poorly?
Yeah, I think that's one of the reasons. And you see, I think you'll have to have more evidence than that to incite people on social media. You will have to come to a point where you can have evidence that these people conspire together to do an insurrection or to start an insurrection in South Africa, and that they then eventually lost control over the whole situation, or that they planned it in such a way that they knew that crowd dynamics will automatically take this in the direction that it took us in the end, that things will get chaotic, that the police will not be in a position to stop it, and that this will do the damage that they wanted to be done.
Do you think if we had a operational, or at least a healthy intelligence security operative in the country, we would have had much better information, I suppose, for successful conviction?
I think so.
Yeah.
And even now, it's a year later, and I'm very worried. I think there's signs that nothing has changed much since July last year and July this year. If I can quickly mention a few factors. The one is intelligence. If we don't have warning intelligence of things like this, that it can occur, you actually need two kinds of intelligence. You need intelligence, what is the climate at present? What is the relations between different groups and factions? Is there enough climate, enough negative climate to cause a uprising like this? Then you need information on leaders, on people who can mobilize that frustration. Because in a revolution or an uprising, you need the leadership to mobilize the frustration. And I don't think we have that capacity at present. I don't know if we have made any progress since last year, because if I look around me, I see more and more scandals which can be linked to information coming from the intelligence services that we have in this country. So they are still busy with their political factions and not busy with the job that they should do. Then, secondly, and this is even more worrying, is did we get that extra human resources at our public order units? It seems the minister now say, not the Minister of Police, but the Minister of Defence say now, 4,000 members will be added by the end of this year. We have still 5.5 months till the end of this year. You know, those kind of people that you use in riots and in this kind of behavior is highly trained people. You must train them in crowd dynamics. You must train them what equipment to use, in what circumstances, and all of those things. It's not just you bring in 4,000 new ones and there you are. Then also, even if all of this is done and said, the type of violence that we had last year was a very unique type of violence. It's not crowd behavior in the classical sense, where you have a march of people frustrated because the ex-president was now locked up. It is a case of hundreds and thousands of people running, rioting, looting, burning, and it's not a clear, defined crowd where you use the classical way of controlling this crowd. Now, even there, we had to do some thinking since last year and retrain our public order units and even the people at station, who will also be necessary when unrest now suddenly occur in South Africa. Because you can't, the public order units won't be enough. But you haven't trained them.
Yeah.
And that will cause a problem.
I suppose it goes without saying that South Africa would need to have an unrest response intervention strategy of some sort in place, especially considering the kind of protests that we're seeing in the country, others being for example, set up for August, saying national shutdown, and so on and so forth. And the kind of discontent that is on the ground, you never know how those things could actually erupt into an unrest. Do you think we've got sufficient know-how in as far as crime information collection and in as far as being able to put in the necessary strategy in place? I mean, they promised us on Friday again that no, the national strategy is still being worked on. But, you know, it took a lot of back and forth to even get to that answer. It seems there's really no confidence that there is some kind of strategy that could come out.
Well, I hope we have that potential. There should be that people who can do this. But what is strange to me, it's a year later, and we are sitting in a very difficult position. There's lots of frustration in this country. We are maybe on the verge of another incident, and still we are not prepared. I think there is too much politicking and factionalism within our security services, especially within our intelligence services, and this is giving us this result of making no progress.
Dr. Chris, I appreciate your time. Thank you very much for coming
Thanks.
on. Dr. Chris de Kock, former head of the Crime Information Analysis Center of the South African Police Service.